top. You can see through the glass there. There's Ireland. We're going out there later. But yeah, look at the steam.
I don't know if you're able to see, but
I don't know. The air temperature is a little cool. The temperature in here is hot. It's breakfast time. We've got some omelette.
scrambled egg,
Mushroom sausage.
hash brown.
Yeah. I got waffles and pancakes with warm maple syrup. And then there's the view out the back of the ship.
We're in Ireland! Oh, we're pulling into Ireland.
Coming into Ireland. There's the back of the ship.
Okay, I'm on an adventure. I'm on a rich adventure.
She's on a drowning me adventure.
Well, if it fits.
We're tipping backwards.
No, don't do that. Okay. Forward. Port. Starboard.
Where's that way?
Guys, this is a life, I'm just saying. If we could... I could literally sit in the hot tub, play in the pool all day, add a cocktail to this mix, and it would literally be like perfect. Oh, it's spinning.
I'm not facing the camera.
Three, because I want to bang my knee on this. 3, 2, 1.
Stand up like you get.
Okay, I'll go first. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Director, welcoming you to the port of Ringaskiddy here in Ireland, folks. Fantastic day ahead for you today. The weather forecast looks pretty nice out there, lovely sunny day for you. Temperatures around 60 degrees right now, in the high 50s, heading up to those mid 60 degrees today for you. Around about that 15, 16, right up to kind of 18 degrees Celsius today. So get on out there, rug up right now. It's a little chilly outside, but that sun is shining. It looks like a gorgeous day for our day here at Ringaskiddy or Cork here in Ireland. Make your way to the forward or aft elevators and staircases and proceed down to deck 1. Again, that deck 3 gangway will be used a little later today. We'll make an announcement to let you know all about that. All guests going ashore will need their keys to the World Cup when leaving and returning to the ship. All guests over the age of 18 will need that photo identification as well.
On your Disney cruise, you'll sail to some of the most amazing places on Earth. So we found some of the most amazing ways for you to explore them all. We call them Port Adventures.
They protect penguins around the world. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Hi there, my name's Steve. And she's walking away.
Do you like penguins?
I liked what I saw of it. I was really worried when the orcas turned up.
We had to leave because we need to have lunch before our excursion.
We didn't get to finish it. I would like to see how it ends.
It was good. But now I'm eating food, which is better. I got the same stuff I always have.
Yeah, Rich.
But I also got corn dog nugget.
You can get lost, you will find yourself because you keep walking around on yourself and everybody else. It has a population of about 5,000 people, but it is the gourmet capital of Ireland. You'll also be able to get ice cream. I heard somebody looking for ice cream, so there's plenty of places to get ice cream. But it's a lovely little place. It's also very historic though. I mean, Kinsale was the main port in the 1300s. And in fact, it was a port of huge importance. It was the most important port in Ireland, right up until the 17 and 1800s, when Cork and Dublin became more important. You would drive into the city in 20 to 25 minutes, and you would also drive to the airport within about 15 or 20 minutes into Cork Airport. So it's a gorgeous place to live. Like I said, very historic. But every little house has its own story, and it's absolutely beautiful. So it's just
Chalfont was built between 1678 and 1682, and that's during the reign of this man here, Charles II in London. And as Ireland was a colony of Britain at the time, the fort is named after the English king. Now the fear in London was that their enemies, France or Spain or the Netherlands, would sail an army into Ireland, which would join with Irish rebels and then go and attack Britain itself. So to stop this happening, the British Army start to build what's known as star-shaped forts all along the south coast of Ireland. Now these forts, they're the cutting edge of technology at the time. You see them all over the world. So in the US you've got Ticonderoga, Sumter, McHenry, Castilla, San Marcos. You'll see them in San Juan in Puerto Rico, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, Hue in Vietnam, Cape Town, South Africa, the Pentagon building in Washington, just a modern day tribute to the Starship Fort idea. And normally, well, that's how they're shaped, but here it's different, in that our architects have opened up our fort at the back so as to get even more cannons pointing out to sea. Now, you see that red navigation marker in the water there? Every ship that sails into the harbour must come between that and our walls. Now you can imagine, with 94 cannons here at any one time, well, the chances of anyone passing are fairly slim indeed. Now, making it even more difficult for an attacker, there is a second fort, James Fort, on the other side of the river as well. Now, that's James Fort. It's a little older. It's built between 1602 and 1604. There was another 46 cannon over there, and they had one extra defense. A cable there at the narrowest spot to stop any ship passing that wasn't supposed to be in here.
Yeah.
It would have been suicide for anyone to try and attack Kinsale from the sea. No one was ever foolish enough to give it a shot. Next, you have the moat. Now folks, I'm always curious, but what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word moat?
Water.
Everyone says water. You know why? Because Hollywood movies and Warner Brother cartoons have been lying to you for years. The vast majority of moats are exactly what you see outside there. They're called dry moats. They've never had any water near them. And the earth from the moat is taken from here and it's packed in here between the outer and the inner wall of our fort. And this is why you can see grass growing on the tops of our walls. And the reason for that, it's really very simple. If you reinforce your stone wall with a bank of earth, the earth will work like the shock absorbers do in your car. Now, Charleston was used by the British Army until 1922. During its history, it's only been attacked once. And this happens in the year 1690, during what's known here in Ireland as the War of the Two Kings. It's when these two men, William of Orange and James II, are fighting to see which of them is going to be King of Britain, and all the fighting took place here in Ireland. Yeah, I've always thought that was incredibly generous of the two of them. Now, James has 1,200 men inside the fort. William sends 10,000 to attack. The attackers have multiple advantages, the biggest of which is they have the last engineer who surveyed the fort on their side. And he knows where all the strengths and the weaknesses are. And he knows that this section of the wall here, well, this was only ever supposed to be temporary before they built that bigger fort onto the front. And as it was temporary, they never put mortar on the stone. And then when the stone was loose, and almost all of it had fallen off in the bad weather of the previous winters. The rain just poured down, washed out all the earth from between the walls after each impact. And by the end of day 3, the wall couldn't take the punishment any longer. It starts to collapse, and the defenders are given a choice of surrender or die. And they decided, oh no, surrender, live and fight another day. There's always one guy in every group who wants to die. I don't know. This is the only time Charleston's ever came under attack. As one of my colleagues likes to say, we have a 100% failure rate as a military fortification. So now we're going to take a walk around. That's all the complicated stuff out of the way. We're going to head down around the corner to those buildings you see zigzagging along the lower wall. And when we're there, I'm going to tell you about life for the soldiers and their families in here. Where is everyone from in the group?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Okay.
California.
UK, right?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, Ohio,
Texas.
Texas, Washington, right? San Diego. So everyone so far from the US or the UK? Anywhere else? Germany, okay. No other nationalities amongst you? God, that makes my job so easy. To remember the history of 3 countries, this is great. Let's be honest, US history, it's kind of like a footnote to Western European history.
Much shorter.
Yeah, much, much shorter. So now, before we go any further, I'm just going to quiz the smaller guys amongst the group here. What age do you think you had to be to become a soldier?
18.
18, okay. Anyone else?
13.
13, right.
10.
10, okay. Anyone else want to take a guess?
What was that?
What age you had to be to become a soldier?
15.
50, right. I'll tell you the answer to that in a few moments' time. Now, you were not paid much either. You got a shilling a day, the king's shilling, it's 12 pence. But from the money, you were being charged for your uniform, your equipment, your 2 meals in the day, and even your haircuts. And if you had to pay extra to feed your wife and your children, you were incredibly lucky if you had anything left at the end of the day. And then there was discipline. Now, at its height, there was 25 capital crimes in the British Army. When you break any of these, you're court-martialed, they find you guilty, you're brought to the parade ground, you're then executed by firing squad. This is for really serious crimes, so you think treason or murder, but really small things were punished with incredible severity. If you're caught stealing something and selling it to someone else, in English they say you flogged it because that is how you're punished in the army. They whip or flog you with what is known as a cat of 9 tails. I'm going to give you, every one of you, the opportunity to have a guess what you think the maximum sentence that man could receive was. How many times do you think you're going to hit him?
40.
Right, okay. Any higher or lower bids?
100.
100, okay. Anyone else? Trust me, go higher. We haven't actually hit minimum yet, so let's go, let's be honest, go a bit higher.
200.
200 is the starting off point. That's basically the minimum punishment you could get regardless of your crime. So let's go a little higher again.
500.
500, slightly above average, but no more than that. It's still not near the maximum. Go higher again.
1,000.
1,000. To give a man 1,000 lashes took 4 hours. And it is still not the maximum. Oh my goodness.
2,000.
The maximum sentence was 1,800 lashes. Anything beyond 600 was considered to be a death sentence. And it's from fear of this punishment that we got some really strange phrases in the English language. So, you ever hear anyone say, the cat's caught your tongue? Mm-hmm. It's because when you're arrested, you say nothing for fear they'll flog you. Or there's not enough space in here to swing a cat. Because you don't do the punishments inside the rooms, you do them down on the parade ground in front of all the other soldiers, where everyone gets to witness your shame. And to really add insult to injury, after they flog you, they then charge you for the use of the cat. It's a half a day's pay if they've only got to use the one. But if they break that on you and they end up using the spares you see lying on the ground, that's a full day's pay out of your pocket. So now, you've all gone incredibly quiet on me. So we'll come back to that second question I asked you. Earlier on you were fairly emphatic. Yanni, you think there was women soldiers?
No.
No. Okay. Everyone's still emphatic. And wrong. There wasn't many, but there certainly was a few. But the thing is, they had to pretend to be men. One of them is a woman called Catherine Davis. Catherine's husband went out one night, got terribly drunk, ends up becoming a soldier. A few months later, Catherine gets a letter from him saying that he's serving in the army in the Netherlands. And she's not really happy about this. So she cuts her hair, puts on his clothes, and joins the army as well. She spends the next 7 years fighting around Europe, hoping to find her husband. And when she does find him, he's with another woman. It gets far weirder than this, folks. During her time in the army, Catherine was wounded on 4 separate occasions. She was accused by a Dutch girl of being the father of her child, which she said she was, so that everyone would definitely believe she was a man. And it's only after she shot on the 4th occasion that the doctor who examined her discovered that she was a woman, which apparently came as a real surprise to the guys who shared the room with her. But she's just one example of many, I'm afraid, women who disguise themselves as men in order to join the army. Now, you weren't promoted based on how good you were at your job. You're promoted based on how much money you have. because you buy your way into the officer corps and you kept buying your way up the ranks. You could have spent about £9,000 officially. Unofficially, you're not the only one who wants to get promoted. So you bribe the man who's selling his commission. Now, I said earlier I'd tell you about the youngest soldier. Well, because promotion until the 1870s was by purchase, as I said, buying your way in, there was problems with that. And one of the problems was what's known as a premature purchase, where fathers would buy their sons their very first commission at a very, very young age. So the youngest soldier in the British Army was a young man called Percy Kirk, whose dad buys him his first commission as second lieutenant when he was only 6 months old. When Percy was 6 years old, he was already Captain Kirk. I love the fact that Captain Kirk is a 6-year-old, boldly going wherever he went before. And by the time Percy had already finished school, he was already colonel of his regiment. So it's abuses like this that led to a change in the system where you couldn't actually buy your sons their first commission until they were at least 16, and then they had to spend so many years in each role before they moved up the ranks. So now, folks, this here is the size of your average soldier's room. And you can see from where the floorboards rest on the opposite wall there, it would have been another 2 floors above us. As I said, officially, it's supposed to be 12 men sleeping in a room like this one here. Perhaps a family living in the corner there, and the central room will have a large table, and you eat all your meals off that. Those are the optimum conditions, I'm afraid. Because during wartime, it could actually be much higher. A survey done in 1856 determined that some of these rooms had 16, sometimes 20 men sleeping in a room this size. Toilet facilities were pretty much non-existent. In all bar 7 barracks in Britain and Ireland, all you had was a large bowl. It was called the chamber pot. It was left in the corner of the room. It was emptied out every morning. It was supposed to be washed out. It was then filled with water. And the soldiers were expected to wash themselves out of that container. Yes. Now you know, the next time anyone ever says to you things have never been worse, just how wrong they actually are. The conclusion of the study said that the average prisoner in jail had more living space and better accommodations than the soldiers did in the barracks. So they finally realised things have to improve, so they put in baths and toilets and ventilation. They reduced the number of men in each of these rooms, and they gave all the married men and their families their own private rooms in the barracks. That's the zigzaggy building we stopped at on the far side. But the biggest improvement of all, however, was in the hospitals. We walked past there one just a moment ago. For the first time ever, the British government starts hiring properly trained doctors to work as part of the army. Before that, each unit would hire their own surgeon. At the time, these men were commonly referred to as being barber surgeons. It was widely believed by the ordinary soldiers that that was their previous profession. The fact that they supplemented their income by cutting the soldiers' hair did nothing to help change that perception. So ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be our last stop now. After this, we're going to give you a few minutes to wander around, take your own photographs. Our tea rooms and our toilets just around the corner there on the right. But before we set you free, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about modern history, especially here in Ireland. So now, after World War I, revolution broke out here in Ireland as a number of Irish Republicans decide they want to break away from the British Empire, set up their own independent all-island republic here, leading to a bitterly fought War of Independence between 1919 and 1921. And this war ends by an agreement called the Anglo-Irish Treaty. And that divides the island into two. Anything north of this black line is Northern Ireland. It stays part of the UK. And the other 26 counties are given Dominion status, which is what Canada or Australia also had at the time. Now the sad truth is, in the in almost every single country that's ever had to fight to gain independence. During that war, the seeds are set for civil war, and here was no different. So, if I'm recalling correctly, everyone said they're from either the US, the UK, or Germany. Any other country while I'm here? So, for those of you from the US, think of Sherman's March to the Sea, Quantrill's Riders, Kit Carson's campaigns against the Navajo, or the way the US British Army burnt down the White House during the War of 1812. UK, think of Boudica burning London down to ground, William the Conqueror's hardening the north of England in 1069, where it took some of the northern counties centuries to recover. And you ever see the film Braveheart? William Wallace was hated in England. The reason why, in revenge for what Edward Longshanks had done in Scotland, Wallace burns down 812 villages in northern England. So it's a good example of how one man's hero is another man's villain. Cumberland in Scotland after the 1745 Jacobite rebellion, where he got the nickname Butcher Cumberland, and trust me, it wasn't for selling meat. Germany, you think of the destruction of towns of Marburg and other towns like that during the 30 Years' War, when entire cities were set on fire by all the competing armies. For more than 3 millennia, armies have been waging scorched earth during war. 2,000 years ago, a Roman historian, a man called Tacitus, described it. He said they create a desert and then they call it peace. From that moment onwards, Charlesford here, it's just abandoned. It's left to fall down. The only ones who used to come out here were the local school children. This was their playground. So folks, that is officially the end of the tour. Just to be really careful as you walk around, because it is uneven, it is very, very slippery. And on behalf of the OPW, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today. I hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the ones you took a picture of on the way up.
Oh, oh yeah, I like it.
Your artillery quarters. Birds nesting in there.
Oh, we can go right down the Sally Port.
Storehouse.
Oh my gosh, that's so dark.
Yeah, the camera can't see anything in there. There's a Sally Port. Look at the view. There's the moat.
Yeah, moat.
Over the other side is Fort James, just there. It's older and smaller. And over there is Kinsale, where we're going next.
So this is the lovely town. It's going to be very busy now today, folks. As you can see around you, there will be a lot of coaches. But right in front of us is sort of the centre of town. We're going to be swinging left here. And I'll show you then where everything is that you need to keep an eye out for. On the left here now, folks, the tourist office and the blue building are the toilets. Now it's written in Irish. Manal is women and Fear is men, but they have a little picture as well, so you'll be able to figure it out what's what. Now, Dino's, where traditional fish and chips, is here on your right hand side. There's the restaurant part and there's the takeaway part. And a little bit straight out this road, folks, is the marina.
Yeah, the colours.
The other way around.
I know. Honest, and it looks seaside town, isn't it? It was hard to find.
It's a gift gallery. Olies.
Do you want to get your island one too?
No, I'm happy with one. Oh my gosh, there's all sorts in here. Key rings. Snoods. Jumpers and woolly hats. Chocolate shamrocks. Oh, fudge. The walled town.
Yeah, she told us about this.
But I think we got dropped off down here somewhere.
Yeah, me too. Then we walked.
I think we were like here on the bus and we walked and then walked up somewhere. Do you want to go find the church as well? The tumble cart. Yeah, how colourful that is.
Wow.
Stone mad.
Stone mad.
This is what she was talking about.
I think this is the bookstore the man was talking about. I'm just going to pop in here, is that okay?
Of course it is. Oh. Look at these lovely little painted buildings. Pink, orange, blue, yellow. This is a little harbour in Kinsale. All the little boats. I want a boat. Memory of all lost seafarers from the port of Kinsale.
The only thing you have to really remember here is that we are all Irish and you're in the country of Ireland, and Irish is our first official language. However, we all speak English every day because for the last 800 years we were ruled by the English. We came in across country the other way, so we're going out a new road now. So there'll be another few sites along the way. So this is Balgooley, your typical little town, church, couple of pubs. Again, more houses again because we're so near the city. What to do. So even though you have your own government, you still have to do what they tell you. So if they say you put your interest rate, what they tell you, so you kind of have a bit of negotiation to kind of got to do it. If they're telling you that in your supermarkets you've now got to weigh your bananas by the gram and the kilo instead of the pound. Magnets in my feet, and it keeps me really, really, really steady.
This is the last time we're on dry land for a few days.
4 days.